So, welcome to the Margin Business Digital Entrepreneur podcast. In today's episode, we got Erik Huberman. Erik is the founder and CEO of Hawke Media. So, Erik, I'm very happy to have you here today and to speak about sales, about marketing, about e-commerce, about Amazon, about anything in that realm. But let's start first because obviously you have a really good background and know what you're talking about, but it would be really great to present yourself and then let's take it from there.
Sure. I guess, I've been doing marketing for about 15 years, built and sold a couple e-commerce companies, and about a decade ago, started advising and consulting for a bunch of brands on how to grow themselves, and just saw that it is really hard for companies to find great marketers that understand the confluence of technology and marketing, understand how all these things play into driving revenue growth. You know, there's a lot of people that can draw pretty pictures, but actually turning it into business growth was difficult. And so with that focus, started building a team. And fast forward, we just got rated the top performance marketing agency in the country. We got over 200 people. We've grown over 4,500 brands successfully. It's been a great ride. And with that, we've invested and funded a lot of the marketing tech stack people use today. We have our own AI system we launched right before ChatGPT came out that is digesting 8,000 companies' marketing, media, and revenue data so that we're able to optimize based on what's happening in the market. Okay. And all these things together allow us to really be the best at what we do.
Wow, that's already amazing. So let's work ourselves up a little bit because obviously sure. you become this heavy company overnight. And let me just know, where did you grow up and what and how did affected where you grow up, and did it actually affect yourself, the environment where you have been growing up?
Yeah, I grew up in a small town called Ojai that's like an hour and a half drive from Los Angeles. And my dad was an entrepreneur. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. My mom was a very, very supportive mother. So the combination of sort of a hard businessman of a dad and a really supportive mom gave me a lot of confidence, but also a lot of drive. And so was always, wanted to be around people, wanted to treat people well, but wanted to grow a business, thought that that's what you did. Like when you have that as your examples, exactly. You take it for granted. And so knowing that, my dad was this entrepreneur specifically, I just thought that, if I was going to get a job, it was to learn something. So eventually I could start my own business. And that was always in my head from a young age.
Okay, so you started directly with marketing, or was this something else?
No, my first job was I sold. Actually, the first thing I did was 6 years old. I took a bunch of my parents' stuff and walked door to door selling my parents' things to our neighbors without telling them. I just thought that, I decided that they didn't need these things anymore. Second thing was selling lemonade and flowers on the side of the road. And then that I didn't make enough money fast enough with either of those. So then I started buying and selling Beanie Babies when there was a craze when I was like 8 years old. And that went really well. I made a few $1,000s as an 8-year-old doing that. And then I like this business thing. It was always for something else though. At that time, I really wanted an electric guitar. I wanted to be a guitarist. I thought that was going to be my calling. And so when I went to my dad and said, "Hey, I want to get I need to buy a guitar," he said, "Great, you better get a fucking job." I was like, "Okay." And as an 8-year-old, you don't look at that as crazy. You just kind of take it as face value. And I went and started trying to work. And so I was able to buy that guitar and a BMX and a whole bunch of other stuff and save some money for a car. But that was my first glance into sort of the power of being able to make money and opening up doors and what you can do with it.
Okay, so but you never went into the direction of having like a music group or anything of that, because you mentioned the guitar or something,
I was in a band all through middle school and high school, but I realized around 12 years old I was just not that good.
It's not.
So I enjoyed it, but there's I think that's part of the fallacy we teach a lot of people is like follow your passion. It's like your passion doesn't always have to be your vocation. Like, having a job that you love to do that you're good at, I think is a lot more important than just something you love to do. The good at part, I think people miss. My first online business was in the music industry, and you see a lot of musicians pursuing music and nobody wants to listen to them in their music. Like, it's like they love it, but nobody else loves it. Well, that's an important factor, and you're going to struggle your entire life under this, weird lesson we give kids of follow your passion. It's like, well, you got to be good at it too. And I can tell you, if you're really good at something and you find a way to make money at it, and you will find it that you enjoy it more and more too. Like, that's part of it too. It's not like I grew up saying I can't wait to run Facebook ads. Like, nobody does. But I realized that I was really good at sales and marketing, and I could help other companies do that. And it became fun because of the feeling, because of winning. And when you're winning, it becomes a lot more fun.
No, that's I can agree completely with that. And what you mentioned as well with the brand and the passion of your life. I mean, the best thing, if we move fast forward, is actually where I can relate to is when you build like a brand in e-commerce. You know, you live something, and then you suddenly you convert it into a brand that you're selling, and suddenly boom, you have a real business running, and on top of it, it's your passion. I mean, this is the closest what I've seen when we talk about passion and enjoying what you do. This is just something I wanted to mention, which I really think makes a lot of sense. But 15 years ago, for example, we were looking at a complete different scenario of marketing, of nothing that we have today. So marketing back then was I mean, we were not at the age of billboard anymore, but we were like early stage of Facebook ads, of Amazon PPC.
There were no Facebook ads 15 years ago.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Like 12 years ago.
Okay, it's 12. Yeah. Okay. So how did it look? I mean, how did you get into that type of space? I mean, obviously PPC ads from Google we must have already at that time, but they were very basic from what I understand.
They're really basic. And no, I mean, I was like, my first online business, a music company, I actually just figured out a hack for Craigslist. And so we were just running tons of ads on Craigslist in a way that was cost effective. And that's what worked. And so, the way I had to learn marketing was this scrappy, we got to figure out, we can't just, we didn't raise a ton of money for my first company. So it was like, we got to focus on how we're going to do this in an efficient way. And that's kind of what led itself to my career. Was I couldn't just go throw a ton of money at something, wait and see, hope that it worked. It was like, we have to really understand how we're going to spend this, how it's going to work, why these channels work. And now it's pretty straightforward. Like Google and Facebook work for a reason, and understanding why they work is important when you're going to run ads on them. But in general, back then, it was tons of noise, tons of different opportunities to market, but there was no like Facebook. I mean, there was a Google, but Google didn't work like it works now. And so it wasn't so simple as I'm launching a brand where I'm obviously going to run Google and Facebook ads. Like there wasn't that cut and dry. Everybody was trying to figure out what channels they were going to use. And we did everything from trying to throw events to running Google ads to running, this program on with Craigslist and all these different things. And when you start to do that, you start to see, because you have to be so careful, you watch really closely how it works, and then you start to understand why it's working. And again, that gives you kind of that education into this is how marketing really works. And part of it is just having your ads, understanding the context in which people are receiving your advertisement, which still to this day is what I think most people miss on the media side, is not understanding what someone is doing on Facebook or Instagram when they serve them an ad. And like why is that working? Not just, oh, it worked because the numbers in the spreadsheet look good.
That's exactly the reason why, for example, myself, I'm focused on Amazon, on the PPC, on the, the brand development side. But when somebody comes to me and said, hey, can you as well at the same time, or your team, can they run some Facebook ads and some Instagram ads and this and that? I say, oh okay, please wait. For each of these, we have partners where we can refer you to. But I rather not touch Facebook ads, because every time I hear Facebook ads, I know how it looks from inside, and I'm not enjoying it. Let's say it this way. There is people who enjoy it. There's people who do, like yourself. You did the A/B testing early on. Obviously, it was a lot less expensive back then, but you had a lot more chances to test everything. Nowadays, if you want to test it, costs already a lot of money if you're testing in the US. So for me, it was always like a field which I liked, but not that much that I wanted to like jump into it and do it. And others like yourself, they have a plan about that, and they really, if you enjoy it and on top of it bring the results. I mean, what better can be when you see the results, the fruits of what we're doing, and you're like, yeah, I think I cracked it. But at the same time, I'm sure, and you can tell me as well, every time you think you cracked Facebook ads, there is a new thing coming on you, and like, your dreams are shatters,
But I think that's part, like, we have 3 core values at Hawke. It's get shit done, learn quickly, and be cool. And the second one being learn quickly. Like, that's welcome to marketing. Like, things are going to change fast. Things are going to shift. You also have to be careful chasing the shiny object. Like, there's always a new thing to talk about. That doesn't mean it's going to be the thing you should be doing. And so actually being able to triage, is this something I should pay attention to? Like, I'd take AR, VR as an example, where it was like, that was never going to be a big marketing channel. I never bought that. Maybe one day when our, technology is different, maybe the metaverse will be a thing, but right now I think it's a lot of BS. So we never bought into that, but AI, super lucrative, super important. So we've leaned into it.
So just one thing about the AR and VR, I don't know if you have seen recently, like Meta Zuckerberg, the CEO of Meta. She recently did a podcast with, I forgot the name. Now I missed out the name, but it was actually in the metaverse. They did one together, Zuckerberg and really I forgot the name. But anyway, I will get back to it. And they were together in a room, and it was like the metaverse, like really. And they needed like to go through a process where they scanned their body, scanned their faces, scanned everything. I'm not sure if you have seen that one.
No, I haven't, but and I'm aware of the technology. I think what's important to understand is, what problem is that solving? You don't, sitting on a video game with someone doesn't replace the idea of sitting in person with someone. Like, maybe there will be a day where you can have all the body language and all the similarities of what you would be like sitting in the room. But the problem is, like, if you have that headset on, then you've got to be able to see your room and them in it, because you still need to be able to move, or it feels like you're in a headset. And if it feels like you're in a headset, then your natural body language is not natural, and it takes that away. It just doesn't replace being in person. It really doesn't. And you have to schedule it. It's not like they're walking by and you're like, oh, hey, so there will be a time maybe when we're all doing this stuff, and it will take in the next 50 to 100 years, there will be a thing. But that's the other fallacy about marketing. You don't need to be the early adopter. There's actually very little value in being the first mover in most marketing channels. You let everybody else break it, figure it out, lose a bunch of money, and then you get in.
It's sure. It might cost Zuckerberg a lot of money, because the process, how he explained it, they needed to check into a facility and actually, to scan the whole body. Took hours and hours.
And what did that solve? Sounds cool. What are you actually solving?
For me, it's like, if you're meeting, you have another on the other part of the world, and you have like people who sit with 12, where you have a meeting with 12 on each side of the world, maybe like seeing the body language, seeing the eyes, how they move, seeing the mouth how it moves, see like the characteristics of the body.
What does the metaverse do for that Zoom doesn't?
That might be a thing, but it's like you're close in 3D. And I understand your questions, and it makes a lot of sense. It's like it's a funny toy, which actually has not a lot of things. I mean, obviously it's funny, but it doesn't solve any problems. That's completely right.
Yeah, and that's what I think happens with a lot of these innovations. Everyone gets really excited because it's innovation for the sake of innovation, but then you fall off. It was similar with what happened with blockchain. There will be some applications that I think will be interesting of blockchain, but people started trying to throw blockchain at everything that wasn't an issue. It was like, it's actually like, blockchain doesn't do anything here. It's those kind of things that you just have to be careful of. And this goes back to marketing, like all these things, blockchain advertising networks and blockchain this and blockchain that. And you're like, okay, but I don't have an issue here. So why would I make a switch? There's no pain, there's no issue, there's no switch.
No, definitely. I agree with that. On the other hand, AI, obviously, there is definitely things you are resolving, with AI at the moment. But we don't even have the full capacity to run all these things. And everyone who builds something on the top of the ChatGPT, me included, I don't think that I'm a genius or something. I just built something which is already there. There's just taking data off it. It's nothing wow. But this is the beginning. So if we can. We are only as smart as we teach the AI to be. But if we find ways, or if we, after the prompts gets more developed, maybe more, can write themselves, or, we find a way how to make like real prompts. I mean, like we talk about like a real database of prompt and feed it to the ChatGPT or to the AI. I think then we're going to look at another level of utility tools,
Yep. I agree.
So, sorry. Speaking about that, speaking about the different AIs, the different tools, and everything. I mean, we have all these brands as well who are obviously using these tools, who are trying to make moves in different directions. Who do you think at the moment, like, what are your favorite brands and who's doing the business right? I mean, from your point of view.
You're saying who's using the tools right or who's doing business right?
I mean, this together, business and the tools, who are using the businesses which are using these type of tools at the moment.
Yeah, so the thing is, like on the tool side, it like for our clients, we're using them. So I could name our clients, but because we're using a ton of different AI tools. But in terms of other brands, the ones doing it right, I don't think you can tell. That's the thing, is like I don't know who's using AI right, because the ones that you can see, like the ones that are using what's the image AI tool that everybody loves?
Yeah, I know, Mind Valley.
Something like that. Yeah. And so yeah, I don't like, if you can tell it's an AI image, well then don't do that, because then it's less compelling, it's less authentic. Like, at work, like there's a bunch of meme accounts doing a bunch of AI images and it was fun for a week. And then it's like, okay, we get it. Computers can generate things now. And so that isn't good. It's the companies that you can't even tell, but have been able to get hyper efficient. Their people can do 10 times the work, that are able to generate so much more content, so much more value to their customers because of using AI, but you would never know on the other end. That's, I think, the critical part of that, is you're just impressed with how well the company's operating. So it's hard to say who's doing that. On our end, we have AI educating our marketers in real time on how the market's shifting. So that's the AI we built. So they're able to make adjustments on campaigns and able to understand where the low-hanging fruit is for brands and make these changes instantly, and also get recommendations on what's actually going wrong, et cetera. So we're able to, marketing has an infinite opportunity cost. There's always an opportunity to make more and more money with marketing. And now we're identifying where should we be spending our time and our attention, because we know exactly where a company's falling short. So that's one way we're doing it. You would never know that on the outside, other than the company's just doing better. The other piece is we're using Go Charlie, another piece of AI. So our piece is called Hawke AI. Go Charlie is another piece that we actually invested in, that they're helping us generate content, creative, a lot quicker. And I'd say it's 80% there. You still need to make adjustments and still need to do some things with it. But I always call, like, AI right now is like a 17-year-old intern. They're not going to be able to just take it off your plate, but they can get a lot of work done fast, so you can get to the meat of it faster. And so that's how we're looking at it. And so we're using, that, ChatGPT, all these different things to continue to move faster, move better. And that's going to be, I think, where this changes sort of the paradigm, is the people that jump on board are just going to be so much more efficient, but the companies that don't are just not going to be able to keep up in the level of iteration and detail that you can. And so getting used to it, implementing it. But again, I think the other important thing to remember with innovation is human adoption is really slow. So as this stuff all feels like it's moving so fast, people aren't using it so fast. People are still trying to figure it out. Most people are not using it. I know ChatGPT has a lot of accounts, but in terms of people actually leveraging it, it's not a huge portion yet. And I think that'll continue to scale.
I mean, at the moment, everyone uses it like, I think, like basic use. They don't, right. Most of the people don't think, or maybe don't have the time to think how to leverage it like correctly, So and that's why I think most of the people are afraid, or are rightly afraid, that my jobs were affected, or things like that, if they don't move fast enough thinking, because the AI is just as good as you give to him. So as good as the data you give to him.
But everybody's always like, people, there's, I guess, a portion of the population that's optimistic and the portion that's pessimistic. And people were afraid, like, I remember the headlines that we're not going to have any more truck drivers by 2025 because of driverless cars. Here we are at the end of 23, so about a year away, and we have a truck driver shortage. So it's like, people always over anticipate the adoption curve for humans. Like, it takes a long time for people to actually, for this to run through our systems, run through the economy. And by the time it happens, it usually creates so many jobs. Like, that's what people miss with technology. Yes, technology replaces jobs, but it also opens up so much more efficiency for a better economy. I mean, you look at the level of poverty, like, I think it's gone from 30 to 7% the past 30 years in the world. Like, it's like, people are living way better with technology. And so when you look at, when you get realistic, there's a book by Peter Diamandis called Abundance that talks about this, where Elon Musk said it over the weekend or on Friday, whenever he said this, was like, he thinks AI will actually replace the need for most jobs and at least take people to a much shorter work week. And it's like, to be just as efficient. And it's like, yeah, that's probably a realistic expectation. Is like, if I can get all the, you log in, you do all the, data entry and all this stuff, and all those things become automated, it doesn't mean you lose your job. There's still going to need to be some analysis, and you're still going to create as much value for the world. People still need to buy all these things. People, companies still need to be a customer. So there will be some level of change. And like, just like McDonald's now has people auto ordering instead of going to the counter, like there will be shifts and changes, but then that opens up again more efficiencies in other ways and new jobs and other things. So from an overall, like, we're going to have massive unemployment, I'm actually not buying it. I think it's going to be a less of a need for as hard of work with the same level of output. So we'll be able to afford people the same. It's deflationary. Technology is deflationary. So it actually makes everything more valuable in that sense.
Oh, I think that's a really good point of view, because as well, you have so much time right now. AI, like you said, it's a 17-year-old intern, and we know that it's getting better. We know that technology is getting better. So the only thing what we need to do is sit down and think how we can get better, and how we can not like fall trap to it, and actually use it to our advantage, in order to cry right now and say, oh, it's going to take over, oh, they're going to enslave us, or I don't know, whatever strange things I have been talking about. Because I was this weekend, I was at a conference, and I spoke about AI for 15 minutes. And it was really interesting, because the different point of views from people, what you have as well. And when you research a little bit about this whole topic, there is more fear than actually people who actually bring something to the table. I mean, there have been tools on there which I've never seen in my life, like different tools. I know the process of them, but I didn't know that they actually exist. So right now we're looking at so many different tools. I don't know, do you have the numbers? I think I heard the numbers, how many tools come out per month, but it's complete crazy number. And again, that means
how many of them are actually solving problems is important too. Like, what I think the better way to look at it is, am I having bottlenecks? What are the biggest inefficiencies in my company or in my workday? And can I automate some of this? And then thinking logically, like, don't go search for the tool yet. Like, me responding to emails is hard to replace with AI. Like, me actually looking at an email, understanding it, and responding, I'm not going to be able to hand that off to a robot, because then I'm going to have no idea what the hell is going on in my world. So that's not going to be doable. But what other things can I do that I'm spending time on, that I could be like, oh, I could have a machine do this part of it and do it. I've been doing that for 10 years in terms of trying to automate and systematize the things that I do, and even pass it off to an intern instead of me doing it. And some of those things now don't even have to go to an intern, they can go to AI. And so that's the way to think about this right now. And then what could I do if I could move faster? Like, what am I not doing because I couldn't get it done in a day or whatever, that now, like, it could be, again, going back to the email thing. Let's say I wanted to send an individualized email to everyone in my contacts based on what's going on in their life, in their world, and their, what they've posted on social media. Like, that's something, I haven't done this, to be clear, but that's something you could actually start doing, is like, ChatGPT, tell me, the happiest update all of these people have had in the past year on their social media, and then send them a congratulations on it. Like, there's, there's nuance, there's stuff that I would work on in there, but that's an example of something that now I can do that, because as an individual, there's no way I could go through my 30,000 contacts and look at all of their family updates, but have AI do it, send them. It's a little insincere, but it's an example of something you could probably use to power that.
Oh, that is definitely a good example. I wasn't really thinking about that, but when we talk about utility, this is something which would save you a lot of time. I guess. Yeah. I have another question for you. Do you have employees in your company? First of all, are they remote and or in the office? And second of all, did you cut any employees because of AI already?
So answer the first question, which is some are in the office. We opened an office again in June of this year. So we've started to get some people back in the office in LA, but vast majority are not. We've been remote since COVID hit. And then in terms of replacing people with AI, not really. Again, our goal, like, I don't think AI is replacing employees yet. If you're replacing employees with AI, you have really bad employees. Like, It's just to be blunt, our employees are smart people, and like us, again, a 17-year-old intern is not replacing our employees. What we are trying to do, though, is now make them more efficient. So as we grow, we don't need to hire as many people to do the same task.
Okay,
And
that's
individuals can make more money, frankly, because the way we work is if we make more off someone, they make more. So that's the other nice thing, is this allows us to have a higher average, which we've seen that the past couple of years. Our average income on our team has gone way up.
okay. Okay. Yeah, speaking of that as well, and as well of the e-com brands, which are obviously related as well to your company that you have right now. You exited quite a few of them, and exited as well for others, correct? So they came to you and you helped them to exit it, correct?
Well, I don't know what you mean by that. You mean I've worked with companies that have sold as well?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Okay. So when you see these e-com brands, I mean, obviously we have seen the boost 2021, 2022, and now we're slowing down a bit. We see a little bit the bubble exploding. But do you see any trend that we're going to continue this way, or will we completely change now the e-com brands exiting, for example, for Amazon?
Well,
What are your thoughts about that?
I always like, listen, we go through hype cycles every 10 to 12 years, and like that's normal. And I think we just went through one, and I think it'll be another probably decade before it's revving hot again. Who knows what that'll be? As far as the individual companies, like Amazon brands selling like they were never made sense to me. You're completely relying on the Amazon platform. You don't really have any enterprise value, just a sales channel. And so I don't know why the Theracios of the world and these kind of these roll-ups were happening in the way that they were. No, I don't think that that'll come back. Maybe, in the same way. I don't think that. I think that was an anomaly. Similar, like you see that with, the way, again, the early ICOs with crypto would be the best example. Whereas like all these people are buying random coins that had nothing behind them. Like that probably won't happen again. Like, will there be another market where just in general, there's things selling for a lot of money? Yes. But I think we're going to probably be in a period now for the next, I don't know, 5 years, where if you have a good business, you can sell it. And if you don't, you can't. And the fundamentals have come back very quickly. So how profitable you are, how sustainable this is, how proprietary this is, with a risk involved. And that's the problem with Amazon, is Amazon can replicate what you're doing overnight and cut you off. Like there's a lot of risk in just selling.
They do it actually.
Yeah, they do it all the time. I love Amazon, to be clear. I think it's a great channel, but to go all in on one channel could be really risky.
It is definitely. I can completely agree with that. Part of helping e-com brands to exit or exited your own brands, you're as well an investor and a speaker. Can you give us more information about how this investing looks for you? Because I've seen a little bit of your portfolio, which is super interesting, actually. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So the investing side evolves continuously, as it should. It started with me not wanting, I wanted to invest in real estate, started investing in different properties because I figured it was so different from my industry. It was a good diversification. And then I got reached out to by a friend that said, hey, we want you to invest in our new company. It's e-commerce and we want you on the cap table. I was like, oh, I'm not touching that. I'm not investing in startups. And they went, no, we're not asking, we're telling you. You got to invest. It can be a small check, but you're going to invest. I was like, okay, I appreciate that. And so I put a small check in, and that company became a multi-billion-dollar company called FabFitFun. And so after that, I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be as stubborn about this. I should probably take this seriously. And so I started looking at deals. And so I was able to invest in a few great companies that then after about 3 years, we looked at it and I was doing well with my investments. And we said we should raise a fund around this. And so the venture fund thesis started as mostly focusing on the technology we use for our customers. So at the time, we had about 300 active clients. We would bring them on, and then we would put the marketing tech stack together. We were onboarding Klaviyo or PostScript or TapCard and all these platforms. So we said, well, yeah, why don't we be an investor in these companies that we're just constantly sending new customers to? And so we did that. It went really well. And so then we raised a second fund about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, that we've been working through, and have invested in some great companies again with that same thesis of like, let's invest in our own ecosystem. And then the angel investing side, which is I'd say more strategic and fun. So I'll invest in different venture funds that we can then work with. I'm an owner in the women's professional soccer team in LA called Angel City, investor in different friends companies, things like that. That's more like just staying in the community. And thankfully I make enough money that I can go that's how I play. I don't go buy a bunch of fancy shit. I haven't bought myself a watch. I haven't bought a bunch of fancy cars. It's more playing in that world. And then so while doing that, I also continue to do real estate. So I have a real estate family office.
Okay. Wow. That's I think this is everything you need, for now. I mean, real estate is the as well one of the good investment form that you can do, which is really like stable, maybe not the best return, let's say it this way, and but the rest the less risky, I think, when you have on the other side.
About real estate, it's for when you want to sleep at night. And like I run a business, I make money there that pays my lifestyle just fine. I've got venture investments that could go crazy, and I'll let you know in a decade if I've made any money, is kind of how venture works. And then you have real estate you're right, it's not going to be the same level of returns, but it's consistent and just compounds. And it's like, what do they say? Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Like it grows and grows, and you buy a piece of real estate, it cash flows, you take that cash flow, you buy another piece of real estate, and you just slowly do that. And then you look back in 10 or 20 years and you're like, that's where your most wealth is created, actually.
So you have on the one side, you have the real estate, on the other side you have the risky part, so the sleeping part and the risky part. So yeah, there is everything is met here, So you as well speaking a lot. Do you how does it usually work? Did you do you do live speeches? Do you get invited, or any TEDx maybe in plan?
I did one a long time ago. I haven't planned any new ones, but I did one. I don't remember that, 2016, I think.
Okay.
No,
okay. I need to check this out.
Yeah, I'm keynoting FarmCon in January, which is the largest agriculture conference. And it's a lot of people that know a lot about agriculture, but don't know a lot about marketing. So I got asked to come out and speak. And, I speak at about an event a month. I don't remember what's coming up next, but I think I've spoken so far at 10 events this year.
Okay. Wow.
And so it's just another part of the business where it's nice to get up on stage and talk about the things that I've been able to become an expert in and share them with the world. And it's good for business. It's good for community. It's good for networking. So I've always been very comfortable on stage. Again, came from playing music as a kid. And so it was just another thing that I could do.
That's really great. That's the reason as well why we have you here today, because we definitely needed to hear what you have to say and how you did everything amazing that you did so far. And very happy that you could share everything with us today. And one more question I have for you. If you had the attention of the whole world for 5 minutes, what would you say?
What would I say?
Maybe a quote or something of that kind.
I'm thinking of how to articulate it, but it's something along the lines of, like, don't be a victim, don't be angry. Like, your life is your control, and control the things you can control, and stop focusing on the things you can't. And really, I just notice it that, like, if there's one difference I see between almost all successful people and not, it's the idea that they own their life. No one else's fault. No one else. And because I've interviewed hundreds of successful people on my podcast from all walks of life, whether they came from money, they didn't, they came from a great family, a horrible family, a great upbringing, a horrible upbringing. What holds them all connected is they know it's on them. And so I see a huge sort of cultural shift right now where everyone's suffering, everyone's struggle is someone else's fault. And I think, while there's validity to that and truth to it, that mindset stops you from ever being successful. And so if I was to tell the world something, because if you remove that victimhood and you remove that everybody else's fault thing, then you all of a sudden look up and go, okay, if it's on me, what am I going to do about it? And you are able to move forward. Not saying that everybody's going to be a billionaire because of what I just said. I'm just saying that everybody will improve, even on a small level, if you took your own control over things, versus saying it's, because I was born in this family, or because I was born in this neighborhood, it's because I was born this way, or this person or that person, or they control this or whatever. That's how, when you think that way, then you're just you're not going to give everything it takes to actually create a better life for yourself.
Definitely. This is accountability. This is a Really, really important. Yeah, thank you so much. Where can anybody get in contact with you if, with you, your company, if they're interested? Because, marketing at that level is definitely something many companies will be interested in, or, somebody has a question.
Yeah, so I'm easy to find. I'm just @Erik Huberman on every social media channel. And then if you wanted Hawke to run a free audit for you through our AI system, we're always happy to do that. That's just, you can sign up at HawkeMedia.com.
Great. That's amazing. Thank you so much for your time today, Erik. It's great to have you on the show, really.
Thank you for having me.